So we have two books, two volumes. In book one,
So Angie, just, I don't know if you were paying attention yesterday, I asked that the departments just go through core changes and new NDIs. Okay, all right, thanks.
so we had the pay plan on tab 2, and then on tab 19, there are 3 locations in our department where we needed a general revenue pickup to support the pay plan. So you'll see it here in 19, and then you'll see it in each of the 3 sections where we needed it. So page 23 is our core. No changes to the core. There's a new
Yeah,
decision.
Angie, if there's no changes, let's
Just
just
don't even
roll.
say it.
Yeah.
We got page 30, which is a new decision item. We need to transfer to create a new fund for the National Guard. Page 32 is a new decision item to transfer a fund balance to a working fund. Page 34 is a new decision item from the governor, Blue Shield grant. This is the staff, 1 FTE, and the personal service. Page 36, the computer system that we have for crime victims, there is a core change. We reduced the amount in half, because we believe we'll only need to pay the vendor for half of a year. Page 41 is a new decision item, immigration training.
Hang on, Angie.
I've got a question about that
Senator
one.
Nierenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would you go into just a brief explanation of this? There's no additional FTEs on this? And then how many officers are going to be trained? And this is ICE training. Just explain a little bit what this is.
Yes, I believe, on page 41. Yes, the $250,000. You'll also see this in the supplemental when you go over it tomorrow. This was a governor initiative to pay for training for highway patrol troopers. We have not finalized whether they will come to us to provide the training or if we will need to go to them.
If ICE will come to you?
Correct?
Okay. And then
So-
how much is requested in the supplemental?
That one I don't have off the top of my head. My apologies.
Okay. I just want some more information about this one. So if you all can follow up offline, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
So the next item would be page 53, Blue Scholarship. This is a new decision item to increase the amount available for law enforcement scholarships. And page 55 is the new decision item for the Blue Shield grant program. The $70,000 in the 1 FTE would help operate this grant program to communities who meet certain qualifications. Page 101 is a core that we have reduced. The statute expired for the economic distress zone. So the GR transfer and the core spending are all core reduced.
Angie, did you skip on page 87 the GR pickup for the JAG? I'm on 87.
Yes. This one, we might have a penalty coming from the federal government, and if so, if our funding is reduced, this is some general revenue to pick it up for 1 year while we have that penalty. Page 111 is funding for World Cup. We don't exactly have, we have a list of ideas of assistance that our various divisions could or would offer. SEMA and the DMAT team, Highway Patrol, MOSWIN and Towers and Mutual Aid. So we have a long list of items and paying for personnel to support during the World Cup, but we will be working with a point person in the governor's office as to what level of support we will provide as a department. Page 119 will become a core. It is a transfer from the Department of Health and Senior Services of opioid funds to conduct testing of the water systems for fentanyl. So there is a core transfer and then a new decision item of $2 million for a total of $4 million. And we have yet to work out the fine details on that one.
Senator?
would you help me on this one too? So this is only pilot program for high schools. Did we do something similar, or was that request for universities in the past?
Apparently, in this current fiscal year, the Department of Health had been appropriated $2 million for this initiative, and
And now it's for high schools?
I don't know, I'm not exactly sure
Yes.
what health was
So-
using it for or wanted to use it for, but it's being transferred to us, so
Okay. Yeah, and just, again, want to follow
Will
up
be-
on this, why it's in your budget and not in DESI's.
it was a surprise to us.
Okay, thank you.
Let me elaborate a little bit on that. So the reason it's with us and not DESI or health or anybody else, there is a law enforcement component to this. The pilot project is designed to test a process that would identify schools that have fentanyl in the wastewater presence. And there is some technology that is available that we want to look at that can possibly actually pinpoint then through the analysis potential sources of the fentanyl getting into the school system. So if it works, if the proof of concept works, this would actually have an enforcement component to it.
Next, we have a new decision item on page 126. Governor's Initiative, this anti-crime task forces. It would fund the salary of a deputy sheriff in each of the highway patrol troops, and then help pay for overtime for sheriff departments who work on anti-crime. Next new decision item is page 170. One of the federal grants that we receive, we are getting a small bump, you'll see it in the supplemental too, of additional funding available for a short period of time. So we'd like some additional appropriation authority to spend that federal money. And that would be it for the director's office. There are no core changes or new decision items for Capitol Police, but Zim is here if she wants to wave. Next, that brings us to the Highway Patrol and our new colonel. Colonel, if you'd like to wave. There is a new decision item on page 204 for uniform increases. You'll see this throughout the Highway Patrol because we pay for uniforms in multiple sections. So this was a new contract, and we expect a large price increase in the cost of uniforms. Next new decision item is on page 207. While it's a small dollar amount here, you'll see it again throughout the book. Sports wagering, we're recalculating too. You'll see it in the supplemental. It is for carrying out the initiative petition that passed in November. The patrol will be doing some background checks. So as a part of the sports wagering, we have requests for carrying out those activities. And page,
Senator Williams.
Thank you. Have we identified and made sure the department has the capacity to carry out these duties?
well, two things. We had asked for 6 FTE, and the governor gave them 3 FTE. So we're trying to evaluate long-term if that will be sufficient. You know, the workload is unknown at this time. In all likelihood, you may move some existing staff into these positions to start with, since they're already employed, and then backfill their positions, just because of the time frame in which sports wagering must be up and running. And background
And-
checks are happening at the beginning, not at the end of the activity, so they'll be needed fairly quickly, which is
Okay.
why we also have asked for this in the supplemental. You'll see it tomorrow.
Perfect. And if you can keep us, the committee, and in particular my office, in the loop on how that process is going, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and just a quick point of clarification, since Angie just mentioned it, you're actually not going to see it in the supplemental tomorrow because Dan Hogg is sick, like everybody else is sick, so we're actually going to cancel the hearing for tomorrow, but
I'm sorry.
that's all right. No worries. Continue.
That frees up my tomorrow morning. Page 215 is then the pay plan, fringe benefits for the Highway Patrol. Highway Patrol's pay plan will be slightly different than the state plan, pay plan offered by the governor for employees. The patrol has their own grid, so their pay plan will be a 1% COLA increase. Next new decision item is page 232. Funding for carrying out activities related to public order, creating the unit and doing the training and the associated equipment that they need. The next new decision item is page 235, but you will notice you have a loose leaf piece of paper. I had inserted the wrong new DI in the book, so this one is for firearms replacement. This is to replace all of the firearms that the patrol has. All. It's time. They need new, they would like to purchase the ones that have the scope, or the red light, something on the top. It helps you shoot better, I guess. I don't know. Again, on page 238 is uniforms that we talked about earlier, and 241 is sports wagering. Page 244 is the next new decision item. We actually would like to change the title of this. This is for the additional, this is a governor's crime initiative, the additional 9 FTE, so 1 for each troop. They would not be in the MIAC, they would be a part of DDCC that would act as liaisons with other law enforcement and
If I can jump in. This is the anti-crime initiative that ties in with the previous mention with the funding for full-time deputies and overtime. The goal here is a DDCC investigator combined with a full-time deputy from each of the 9 patrol regions will team and be co-leaders of an initiative that will incorporate additional sheriff's departments, local police departments, all focused on going after the most dangerous felons currently that are fugitives in the state of Missouri, which we know through analysis of data we have over 17,600 such felonious fugitives in the state of Missouri that are throughout the state. This statewide task force effort will be designed to go after that huge number and start getting these people locked up.
next new decision item is page 252. We're receiving a federal grant for a new boat for the Water Patrol. This will be a metal boat, and it will be located down in Portageville. Page 257, oh, I'm sorry, 254 is again the firearms replacement, and then 257 is uniforms. 265 is sports wagering. 273 is the next new decision item.
Mr. Chair. Thank you. Thank you all for being here this morning. Can we go back to sports wagering and what exactly is this new decision item to do, and who are we going after, and
So
how
with
to enforce that?
Passage of the initiative petition in November for the sports book wagering, part of the activities then that the Highway Patrol needs to do is the background checks for those who operate the platforms on the sports wagering. So they will be working under the gaming division direction, doing the various things that they do now related to the riverboat gambling.
Okay, thank you.
So sports wagering, replacement Bearcat. We replaced the ones that we have because they're old. They need maintenance. 276 is again sports wagering. 285. This is Crime Lab, new decision item. Again, like everything else, the cost of just the reagents and the day-to-day materials that you need in the crime lab, the costs have gone up exponentially.
This is a new crime lab, or are we
No,
refurbished?
this is just the beakers and the liquid that you need to conduct the test. So this is not equipment for the new lab or the current lab.
Is
This
the new lab in your budget, or is it going to be in the CI?
The construction of the new lab is in House Bill 20.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay.
So page 288 and 293 are in tandem. In current year, fiscal year 25, a new decision item was added to our budget of $1.5 million to test the remains of deceased folks who were not identified. We have contracted with a lab. We have sent off many samples, but just in case the bills, the invoices do not come in before June of this year, we are asking for the funding again to be in FY26 so we can pay the bills. We would not spend an additional $1.5 million. Again, page 301 is for uniforms, and 310 is for uniforms. Next new decision item is 324.
I'm sorry. Hi, real quick question for the new director. Does this mean that you get a new uniform, or do you just get to use the uniform you had the last time you had this job?
Well, Senator, you're looking at my uniform. The director does not have a uniform. So,
Okay, thank you.
but thank you.
You should ask for a hat, though. I'm sorry. So 324, cybersecurity and the cloud. The costs have increased drastically. For the patrol is not a consolidated unit, so they do not work with ITSD, so they maintain their own cloud security and servers and all
Yeah,
of
so
that
Angie, this is
stuff.
a federal mandate that we have no federal funds to cover whatsoever. That's
Actually,
fantastic.
that this was entered and that is incorrect.
Okay, so what should that be?
Cost to continue.
Got it.
I'm sorry. So again, increased costs in normal operating business. Page 327 again is uniform, and 330 is sports wagering. And there was one core reduction on page 338. Essentially, it was one-time reduction of new decision item from last year for additional funds for the mental health services using the opioid funds. That is it for the patrol. Then in Book 2, Volume 2, we have our Division of Alcohol and Tobacco Control. They actually have no changes or no new decision items, but she can waive. Then we have Fire Safety. Tim Beam is here. He wants to waive. There is a new decision item on 374. This is one of the GR pay plan pickups for the elevator fund. Cannot support cash-wise the governor's pay plan, so the governor had granted us general revenue to pay for that pay plan. Page 377 is a new decision item from the boiler fund, an additional inspector, so it's 1 FTE and the associated costs. There's a large backlog of inspections that are needed. Yes, yes. Page 388 is a core reduction, $20,000 of some funding that was added for a specific entity. And that is it for fire safety. Next up is veterans. Paul wants to waive, Paul Kirkhoff. There is a core change in the veterans housing assistance. Page 401 is where you can see the change. We had some funding added that was one time last year, $1.5 million to bring the core to bring the amount of funding available for FY25 to $3 million. That $1.5 million is one time. we are not positive that we can spend it all in this current fiscal year. So the new decision item on page 404 is to ask for that money to essentially be reappropriated. Again, we would not exceed $1.5 million in total, but this is in case any bills come in after June that we would be able to pay for them.
Senator Washington.
Yes, real quick, how's that money allocated? I see it says a bid process, so
Yes.
do we allocate that to the providers, or can veterans directly
No,
access that
providers.
fund?
It was an RFP that went out. It was slow in getting the RFP out for various reasons, and I think it might have just closed, but it was not for individuals.
Okay,
For
when
entities.
we get those the organizations, could you forward that to us, who,
Ab-
after you've made the awards?
After the awards are done, we can certainly let you know.
Thank you.
Page,
Sorry.
sure thing. Page 411 is a new decision item. We have some fund balance built up in the World War I Memorial Trust Fund. This is a license plate. So we'd like to get this additional $200,000 to the World War I Memorial. We'll work on that, absolutely. Save us a stamp. Page 413 is a new decision item. The last 2 years, there has been support for the World War I Memorial and their construction and renovation, and so this is $2 million to continue those efforts. In the home section, page 425, there's a core reduction of a specialized COVID-type funding that was CESF. So we have finished with that specific funding source, so that was core reduced out. Page 431 was a new decision item not recommended. Same with 435 and 443. So the next one to pay attention to is page 456. Again, this was a general revenue pickup for the pay plan for the veterans' homes. And then page 460 is a new decision item for veterans, and this is the marijuana money that comes in goes through multiple transfers. So this is, again, one of the transfers to get it from the one marijuana fund into the fund where we spend it. And the same with page 463. And that is it for veterans. Next up is gaming, and our new executive director, Mike Lear, if he wants to wave. So there are a couple of new decision items here, and they are related to the initiative petition that passed in November. First one you'll see is on page 471. That initiative petition required the compulsive gaming prevention fund to be created and a certain amount transferred to it. So this is our estimate of how much money would be transferred into that fund. They are working with the Department of Mental Health on the best way to use these funds. And again, 479 is the pay plan fringes for the patrol that are in the gaming budget. And again, 482 is also, so these are the 3 FTE that will be Highway Patrol FTE to do the activities related to the initiative petition. You have their normal transfers, and then on page 500, again, that initiative petition required a transfer to education, and this is the best estimate that we have at the time of, per the formula, how much would be going to education. And then that would be, there is one more new decision item in gaming.
Oh, you want to talk about horse racing? Yes. Go ahead,
Oh,
Brian.
absolutely. Yes, yes.
So,
$5,000 on page 502.
The the way I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, we can have horse racing in Missouri now that we have sports book, correct?
That,
Because I'm a degenerate gambler, and I would really like to see us increase this appropriation. I'm tired of driving across the river into Illinois to go to Fairmont Park. Yeah.
Senator, horse racing would be legal in Missouri. It is legal in Missouri.
Right.
However,
But we need
it needs
sports
to
book.
establish a horse racing commission and commissioners to oversee that. Right now, there is no commission. The $5,000 is available should that occur. There has been some effort recently in the past couple of months to reestablish that, but that's not really within our efforts. There are previous people that did participate in that commission that are trying to reestablish it at this time.
We don't have to get into it now, but when you get time, I mean, it's not urgent, would you mind to stop by my office? I would really like to talk to you about this.
Yeah, so there is a mechanism for it, but right now it's not utilized.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I think I already touched on the compulsive gaming, sorry. So that is it for Gaming Commission. Next up, last division, SEMA. Mr. Remillard wants to waive. We have a new decision item on page 537. Again, this is a GR pickup for the pay plan. They utilize the Department of Health and Senior Services federal fund, and that is not available to pay for additional salary expenses. So page 541 is a new decision item. You'll see just this very small number. It is for 12 FTE. We have all the funding we needed to pay salaries. They utilize these last several years with the advent of the DMAT response teams. We pay people by the hour to work different events. It actually incurs an FTE when we pay them because we're paying them salary. This was not calculated in when DMAT was created, so it is with my insistence on them staying within their FTE cap. They are unable to fill their normal positions because I require them to stay within their FTE cap. So these would not be necessarily 12 brand new people. That's just going to allow them the ability to send the DMAT team out as needed and pay them their salaries, incur an FTE, and have their normal operations, have enough FTE to fully operate in the manner that they normally have. So that is our request here. Then on page 548, Task Force 1. Again, a new decision item you've seen in the past. Funding for Task Force 1 to go to the exercise that is held in Georgia. And then 550 is for equipment for Task Force 1. I would like to bring your attention to page 558. This was a new decision item. It, I believe, is hard to wrap your brain around, but in statute there is the creation of the MERC Commission, Emergency Response Commission, and it authorizes a fee to entities. The fee expired in August of 2024. That fee was collected about this time of year each year and then redistributed out in the following fiscal year to the communities to help train firefighters on how to respond to disasters that occur in their areas related to the business that's there that has hazardous waste. With the expiration of the fee, there is no new money coming into the fund. There is enough fund balance for us to carry out the activities in FY25, and we are doing so. The request is, while we are also asking for the statute to be reauthorized, that we have then general revenue for the 1 year, next fiscal year, 26, because even with the passage of legislation authorizing the statute, you would not
Yeah,
get
you're pretty
the
much
fee.
going to have a year gap.
Yes.
Okay,
So
got it. Anybody
I
carrying
believe
that
there was a
bill? Is there
misunderstanding.
anybody carrying that bill to actually put that back
absolutely
in place?
the
Who's carrying
same
it?
as last year. We had
Who's carrying the bill?
the House members and
You got it?
Senator
Good.
Williams.
Perfect.
Yeah, we've got a
Wonderful.
House member and a Senate member.
Wonderful. All right.
But yes, even though the governor, I believe it was a misunderstanding in the governor's office, I've let them know that we will be actively asking for this $1 million of general revenue.
Senator Williams.
And just so the committee's clear, and I don't want anybody being confused. So basically, all it would do is allow us to no longer have to go through an unnecessary bureaucratic process or legislative process and just remove the sunset to where we can just not have this conversation again. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You bet. We should talk, Brian, let's talk right after this, because I got a great idea on this. I got a bill on the floor today that's going to remove some sunsets on some other stuff.
And then last one would be page 566. Again, this was something that was discussed last year and a new decision item was added. It's a Governor Parson initiative, but it was put in the DPS budget for 1 year as one time. So obviously it doesn't help. So if we do carry forth with this idea, we would need this in FY26 and ongoing. And that would be it.
All right, thanks, Angie. Director, any other questions from the committee? None appearing. That will conclude our hearing this morning on Senate Probes. And like I mentioned earlier, we're going to cancel, or we have actually canceled tomorrow's hearing because we don't have a budget and planning director in the building today or tomorrow. So everybody just take the rest of the week off.
Yeah, Tom, I remember you, yes.